presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Minnesota.
Downtown Cleveland, which became Wintersville, USA just a month and change ago when the Cavaliers won their NBA championship. Right next door, Progressive Field, the site of the Twins and the Indians. We start a 3-game series tonight at Progressive Field, and it features, once again for the Twins, one of them, the American League's very best. After getting swept out of Toronto, the top team in the East, the Twins now take on the top team in their division, the Cleveland Indians. Welcome inside Progressive Field. It is a perfect summer night for baseball. Mid-70s, no clouds, and a nice breeze in play. Let's take a look at our series setup. 3 night games for you to start the week, and it features the first place team in the division. Cleveland's been there since the middle of June. Kind of a surprise, up 4.5 games. In second is Detroit, but don't look now. Last year's World Series champs, the Kansas City Royals, are flying. There is some tension in town here, especially with the Twins visiting. You might say, why? The Twins have lost 10 straight, but 8-5 overall against the Indians, including 5-2 in this ballpark, scoring nearly 6 runs a game. This series also features 2 of the top candidates for Rookie of the Year, Max Kepler of the Twins, Tyler Naquin of the Indians. Kepler has 15 home runs. Naquin has 14, who slowed down a little bit lately. Both these players, though, are electric in their lineup. Twins trying to buck the trend and the 10-game losing streak and stay hot against the Cleveland Indians. Up next, Dick Bramer and Jack Morris. Get you ready for first pitch.
Twins started in Cleveland, and it will end in Cleveland. First of a three-game series between the Twins and the Indians. Hector Santiago made his Twins debut here in Cleveland about 3.5 weeks ago, and the Twins will face right-hander Trevor Bauer. And we welcome you to Progressive Field in Cleveland. Dick Bramer, Jack Morris with you, and the Twins hope to end a 10-game losing streak. And if you've watched any part of it, it will not come as a surprise to you as to why this team has lost 10 in a row. It has been the pitching staff.
Pitching staff has really struggled through this particular stretch. The starters, the relievers have all been involved in it. As you can see by the numbers there, the starters have only pitched 10 more innings than the relievers in that stretch, and we don't even want to talk about those earned run average for either one of them. That's how you lose 10 games. They've got to be better, and they could right here in Cleveland.
It's been a bad month of August, and the highlight of the month, maybe the whole season, was the series here earlier this month.
Well, they did a great job, especially Max Kepler had a great series. And, you know, this team has played well in Cleveland. I think they come in here with a little confidence, knowing that they can get their hits off the Cleveland starters. Let's hope that happens tonight, and that Hector Santiago does a good job himself.
Well, the Twins are taking on a Cleveland team that right now is struggling to score runs. We'll see what happens. See if the Twins can end the 10-game losing streak here tonight in Cleveland. Quite a night. Chisenhall goes back. It's gone. A home run for Escobar. Gone. A home run for Dozier. And the Twins go deep again in Cleveland. Max Kepler had his 3-home run game here in early August, and the Twins really pounded the Cleveland pitching staff in the first 3 games of the 4-game series. The Twins scored double-digit runs in all 3 games, scored 35 runs in the first 3 games. They lost the series finale, then went down to Tampa and won a couple of ball games, and since then it's been a month to forget. Paul Molitor has seen his team endure 3 long losing streaks. A 9-gamer to start the season, an 8-gamer in May, and now a 10-game losing streak that he hopes to end tonight with this Menards batting order. Brian Dozier leading off, Joe Mauer batting second, Trevor Plouffe the designated hitter, and Miguel Sano back at third base and hitting cleanup. Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, Eddie Rosario, Juan Centeno, and then the newest Twin just called up for the game tonight, Logan Schaefer.
And they're going to be facing the right-hander Trevor Bauer. He's 25 years old, making his 22nd start. He's had 29 appearances. He has come out of the bullpen a couple times. Lost his last game in Oakland, and for the good news for Twins fans, he's facing the Twins for the 11th career start, and he's 1-5 with almost a 6 ERA. So the Twins have fared quite well against Trevor Bauer.
And Brian Dozier getting ready to get things going. Twins, of course, have had a terrible road trip here to start with 3 losses in Toronto. Now playing on a field where they've had their highest winning percentage this year. Pitches up and in, ball 1. Dozier has not enjoyed much success against Bauer, just 2 hits in 24 at bats, but a wonderful year for the Twins second baseman. Great numbers across the board. Popped up and near first base, Mike Napoli comes in on the infield grass, makes the catch, 1 away. Joe had a great series here in Cleveland, kind of overshadowed by Max Kepler, but 12 for 18, 5 doubles, 8 runs, 6 runs batted in.
Yeah, that was kind of the last real hurrah for Joe again. He's since gone into a little mini slump for his terms at least, but back in Cleveland he's always hit well here. Maybe it's the batter's eye that is that beautiful bushes out there.
Outside, ball 1 to Mauer. And Joe's hit .360 against Bauer. 9 hits, 25 at bats, a home run, a couple of walks. And now inside 2-0. The Indians had been sailing along, but they've had some issues within their starting rotation that were not there at the beginning of August, and now some issues from the lineup, having a tough time scoring runs. We'll see if that'll hold true through this series. Strike call to Mauer, and it's 2-1.
Well, Joe was dealing with that quad soreness for a few games, and Paul rested him, and he didn't play the entire series in Toronto, but I think he's going to probably play all 3 games here in Cleveland, barring injuries.
Line to left center field. Geyer won't catch it. Mauer starts his series here in Cleveland with a double.
Well, that ought to test those quads right there. He's got to sprint around first base.
And to turn it on a little bit
Yes,
there with
did.
Geyer playing the carom perfectly, and it's a 1-out double for Mauer.
It was a great throw from left field right to the bag, but Joe barely beat it, which is, he's got to make that decision right when he rounds first base. You can see it's off the wall here. And then a perfect throw, an accurate throw right to the second baseman. And Joe just barely getting in there, but he is safe.
And a pop-up slide that kept his right foot on the bag. He's at second with 1 down, and now Trevor Plouffe, the designated hitter. And a pitch is up. Bauer falling behind batters here in this first inning. You look at the Twins stat lines against Bauer, and well, Rosario's 8 for 16 against him, and Centeno 3 for 7, but it's not like they've knocked the cover off the ball against this guy. What they have done, according to Paul Molitor, is they've been very opportunistic, and when Bauer in particular would accommodate them with an extra walk or 2, the Twins would seem to get a big hit. And we'll see here if they can take advantage of the 1-out double.
Sounds like a pretty good formula for success. Trevor Plouffe, one of the guys that has struggled a little bit against Bauer.
Breaking ball left up high, 2-1. When the Twins came here in early August, they pummeled the best pitching staff statistically in the American League. Since then, the Indians have had some health issues with Salazar. Carrasco's been hot and cold. Strike on the outside corner, 2-2. Corey Kluber has been the rock of the rotation, and the Twins will face him in the series finale on Wednesday. There's Kluber. 2-2 to Plouffe.
Tomlin behind him.
Twins will get Tomlin tomorrow. He's really struggled, but has beaten the Twins twice this year. On the outside corner, and Plouffe takes strikes 2 and 3, 2 down. And that'll bring up Miguel Sano. Northland Ford defense for the Cleveland Indians. Brandon Geyer is in left field. Rajay Davis in center. Abraham Almonte in right. This is the Indian lineup defensively against a left-handed pitcher, and the Twins will throw 3 of them out there. Ramirez, Lindor, Kipnis, Napoli, the infielders, and Roberto Perez doing the catching. Here is Miguel Sano. Sano didn't play for a while because of a sore elbow, then limited to DH duties. And the way Paul Molitor jokingly, I think, described what's been going on here the last few days. He said it's almost like they were having a blinking contest. Sano was waiting for Molitor to put him at third base, and Paul was waiting for Sano to say, I'm ready to play third base. So he didn't, but he's in there now and might be there for the balance of this series. 1 strike to Sano. And now a ball.
Sano, another one of the Twins hitters that's really struggled against Trevor Bauer. He's only got 1 hit and 12 at bats, and he's got 6 strikeouts. So Bauer feels pretty good about this. The numbers have got to change at some point for Sano against a lot of hitters or pitchers in the American League.
2-1. Just an opinion, but I'm guessing 10 years from now we're going to see Miguel Sano put up massive numbers in this ballpark.
You would think in a lot of ballparks. He truly is the strongest guy I've seen in years. And once he figures out that he doesn't have to pull everything and that he just has to let the ball travel and have better contact, he's going to be a monster.
2-1 to Sano. And now 3-1 with Max Kepler on deck. Beautiful weather, 78 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, breeze blowing in from right center field.
I've never seen Cleveland look any nicer than tonight. It really is a gorgeous night.
Very low humidity. Dangerous pitch here. Trevor Bauer to Miguel Sano. Lifted to right. And retreating a few steps is Almonte. Now the wind pushing it towards the line. And he makes the catch. Bauer left at second. No score after a half inning. Straight wins in June. They've taken over the division lead, and it's kind of fluctuated, and they had a few games trimmed off their lead on their just completed road trip, having won just 2 games. Here's his Menards batting order in game 1 against the Twins. Rajay Davis, Jason Kipnis, Francisco Lindor, Mike Napoli, Carlos Santana, Jose Ramirez, Brandon Geyer, Abraham Almonte, and Roberto Perez.
They're going to be facing the left-hander Hector Santiago. He is 10-8 this year, making his 27th start. 0-4 for the Twins, looking for that first win. He missed his last start with a little bit of soreness in his thumb, but I think everything's cleared up and ready to go.
He made his Twins debut here in the final game of that 4-game series at the beginning of the month. And numbers weren't good. Gave up a couple of home runs, a 3-run home run and a solo home run. Now ball 2. And he's really struggled in his last 2 starts against the Royals. 15 earned runs in 8 2/3 innings. Now he falls behind Davis 2-0. Now 3-0.
Well, he's a fast worker, but he doesn't always throw strikes, and he can have lapses of wildness. We'll have to watch his finish. He's a guy that stands straight up and doesn't really drive that chest towards the target. I think that's part of the problem with his command. I know that for a veteran pitcher, it's hard to change old habits.
High fly to left center field. Logan Schaefer will give way to the left fielder, Eddie Rosario. I thought the new Twin would get a chance to catch his first fly ball, but Rosario, the incumbent outfielder, called him off. Northland Ford defense for the Twins. Rosario, reading between the lines, I think we're going to see more of him in left field than center field from now on. Now that Schaefer is here, Kepler in right, Sano, Polanco, Dozier, Maurer, the infielders, and Centeno behind the plate. Schaefer can play all 3 outfield positions. Didn't get a chance to play much in center at Rochester once Byron Buxton was sent down. First pitch strike to Jason Kipnis.
Well, to your point about Eddie Rosario, I think that's where they project him to be. He was there last year when he was doing so well, and we've seen him make so many great assists out there in left field.
1-1, and now 2-1. Of course, Danny Santana put on the disabled list, flown back to the Twin Cities to get his shoulder looked at after his collision with Robbie Grossman yesterday afternoon. Kipnis flips it foul. Kipnis hit one of the 2 home runs that Santiago gave up in his Twins debut in early August. Carlos Santana hit the other.
Yeah, Kipnis had pretty good numbers lifetime against Santiago. .333 batting average, 7 for 21.
Around the hands.
Hello.
3-2 with 2 strikes. Sano is pulled over to the right side of the infield.
I just don't think hitters are used to that anymore. You just don't see the ball there hardly ever, and it allows them to dive more and more and more.
And Kipnis takes a walk. Runner at first, 1 down. Sanford health injury report. Danny Santana collided with Robbie Grossman. Finished the inning, but then was taken out. Flew to Cleveland, back in the Twin Cities. And a sprain, no surgery required for Santana at all. And Logan Schaefer, not Byron Buxton, but Logan Schaefer called up to fill the outfield spot. Here is Francisco Lindor. And Santiago falls behind him.
Not surprising, Lindor, just an outstanding young player. He's got one of the best batting averages against Santiago on the entire Indian roster. He's hitting .429 in 10 at bats. He's 3 for 7.
Up high again. Well, the Indians are struggling to score runs. At least they were on the road trip. They won 2 games out of 7 on the road trip. They scored 16 runs in the 7 games, and 12 of those in 1 game. And now Santiago's issued a 1-out walk, falling behind Lindor, 2-0. Foul back, 2-1.
Took a little something off there, and Lindor's bat speed a little out in front.
Of course, we didn't see Santiago in July. He was pitching for the Angels then, 6-0 with an ERA of 1.78 in the month. And he has come back after his greatest month as a major leaguer with the worst start of his major league career. Dribbled to the right side, and Dozier has 1 play to make. He gets Lindor, and Kipnis goes to second base. Well, when the Twins were here earlier this month, they scored a lot of runs, hit a lot of home runs, and made Mike Napoli's contributions in the series moot, but not without a tremendous series and a good year in his first year with Cleveland.
Well, Terry Francona credits him for the biggest difference maker on this team. Not Lindor, even though Lindor may be the better athlete of the two, but his clubhouse presence, the way he has demanded his team to play the game the right way, and his leadership at the plate. You know, when you launch a few in the seats every once in a while to help win games, you're automatically a popular guy.
When you have that guy, the Twins had one last year in Torrey Hunter, and the Indians had it a few years ago. Jason Giambi was at the very end of his career, but he was that same type of guy that was great in the clubhouse and almost like another coach or manager in uniform. 1-0 with Santiago struggling to throw strikes here. "16 pitches, just 6 strikes, 2 outs." When Santiago had his success in the month of July, he gave up 26 hits and issued 21 walks. As a Twin, he's only walked 3 men in 4 starts. Popped up near first. Mauer over for a look. And reaches in and makes the catch.
Nice play.
Mauer reaches at least 1 row back to get the 3rd out. And Santiago weaves around some control issues to pitch a scoreless first.
Kepler will lead off for the Minnesota Twins. Much was made about the offense the Twins had on display the last time they were here earlier in August. But how about the series this guy had? 10 RBIs, 4 home runs, and he said walking in the ballpark today, on the field, the memories were there, the flashbacks, guys, to that 3 home run game. I asked him where it stands in his career. He said, without a doubt, the best day I ever had as a baseball player. I'll never forget it. No matter how long I play, I will always remember those good feelings. And he said he and his teammates are looking for more of those good feelings right now. All these guys, like Max Kepler, just so hungry to have some good feelings. Again, we've lost 10 straight, guys. You see it on the airplane. You see it in the clubhouse. It is a downtrodden bunch, a frustrated bunch, but it was nice to talk to Max about that great day he had and talk to the guys about the weekend they had earlier in August. It seems like forever ago right now.
Boy, it sure does. Thank you, Kevin. I doubt he'll be seeing too many knee-high fastballs over the inside corner. It seemed like Kepler hit 4 identical pitches with the 4 identical swings to almost the identical spot in the right field bleachers.
Well, I loved what he said. He'll never forget it. And I think it's a key to young players. The better they have, the more good memories they have, the more they're going to start believing. And wait till they win.
Yeah.
They get a taste of that. And it's like chocolate cake. I mean, they want some more.
Kepler hit 3 home runs on August 1st. He hit another home run the next day, August 2nd. He has not homered since. 2-2. And called third strike. Second strikeout for Bauer. One thing that Paul Molitor said he was going to ask of his left-handed batters, and I don't know that it came into play here. Kepler, he took a fastball right down the middle.
You know, it was down and away. The angle here is a little off center. And you can see where Perez set up outside. Perfect pitch.
Paul said that the left-handed batters, and Polanco, a switch hitter, is hitting left-handed, have had a particular hard time with Bauer's curveball. And so he said tonight we're going to have to try to lay off of that pitch. Polanco takes strike 1. Strike 2.
Yeah, he's gonna hope, and I'm kind of curious as to how it actually unfolds here. You got a lot of young hitters that are just trying to find their way, and you know, to ask him to try to lay off a breaking ball from a guy who's got a good one is kind of a hard thing to do.
Polanco grounds to Kipnis, 2 down, and that'll bring up Rosario.
Eddie has had a great number of at bats against Trevor Bauer. He's 8 for 16, hitting .500. So he's one guy that can't wait to get in the batter's box.
The first 4 batters for the Twins in the lineup tonight have been with the team all year long. Plouffe was on a rehab assignment, but Dozier, Mauer, Plouffe, and Sano have been fixtures. The bottom 5 players, in fact 14 players on the 25-man roster at one time or another played for Rochester in a non-rehab assignment
this year.
Kepler did, Polanco did, Rosario, Centeno, Schaefer. Big chunk of the pitching staff, of course. 1-1 to Rosario. And Kipnis will get another try, a chest high hop, and a quick 1-2-3 second for Trevor Bauer. Anna will lead off the second against Hector Santiago, then Jose Ramirez and Brandon Guyer. In your 1 year with the Twins in early June, you guys ran off 15 straight. You took control of the division and essentially never looked back. About the time in June when the Twins 15-gamer ended, that's about the time this year when the Cleveland 14-game winning streak started. Now the Indians are hoping to do the same thing. They got into first place because of that winning streak, but they are just 24-26 since then, and they're feeling a little heat now from the Tigers and the Royals.
Well, we weren't quite that way. Once we started winning, the winning kept on.
Right.
And I think we felt more and more positive about every game. Of course, we had obviously competition. Oakland was right there with us for a while.
But you clinched the division with about a week left, and were able to set some things up come playoff time. And I don't know that the Indians will have that luxury. Typically, they've been better in August and September.
Well, I think what's happened in baseball is exactly what Commissioner Bud Selig wanted years ago, and that's to have everybody be competitive. And you know, you look around the league, and I think you'd have an argument with whoever you're talking to about who are they going to be the postseason teams in both leagues.
Right. You look at the top 3 teams contending in the American League Central, and the Indians haven't pulled away because they've struggled with the Twins. The Tigers and Royals are in it because they have dominated the Twins. There's a bouncer to the left side. Twins had the shift on. Polanco fires to Mauer, 1 away. Time now for our Toyota Key stat. The Indians against the American League Central. They've won 11 out of 12 against the Tigers. That's helped keep the Tigers behind the Indians. But they have struggled against the Twins because they have given the Twins nearly 6 runs a game. They've scored plenty, but not enough to win many of the games.
Yeah, it just really doesn't make sense, and what it shows that there's really not a dominant team. One team beats up on another team, and that team can't beat somebody, but they beat somebody else.
Right. Ball 1 to Jose Ramirez. And now 2-0, and Santiago's done this so far here tonight, falling behind not just 1-0 but 2-0. And a strike. What the Angels got from Santiago is kind of what the Twins have seen from him tonight. A lot of pitches, some walks, some deep counts, not much depth to his starts. A couple of games went 7 innings in that great month of July. But he won ball games too where he pitched just 5, 5 1/3, 5. I think the Twins would prefer what they've seen here tonight than what they have seen in his first 4 starts. 3-1, and now another walk. And that'll bring up Geyer. September 20th is Ryder Cup night at Target Field. A limited number of Ryder Cup theme night ticket packages are available that include a game ticket and Ryder Cup themed Twins cap. You can learn more at twinsbaseball.com Ryder Cup or call 800-33-TWINS.
Well, the Twins are going through a stretch here where they're playing some very good baseball teams that are either red hot like Kansas City was, or teams that are winning their division like Toronto, Cleveland here, Detroit's just a few games behind. And for me, even though I know it's not a pretty picture as of late with 10 losses in a row, I think it's a very good way of really judging where the Twins are and where they have to be if they ever have visions of being a postseason team. You're playing the best, and you can really judge then how far away you are.
Santiago with a flip to first. I asked Paul Molitor that this afternoon. I said, would you rather at this point of the season play the better teams or teams that you might stand a better chance to win? And he said, although he's never been a spoiler guy, he's never really, you know, as a player, coach, now manager, never relished the opportunity to spoil somebody else's parade.
Right.
Basically what you said, that you want to play and prove that you can play toe-to-toe with the better team.
Let me just say this. I think the majority of great players relish the idea of competing against the best.
Runner goes. Great jump by Ramirez. Centeno's throw right on the bag. Got him. A perfect throw by Juan Centeno. It looked to me like Ramirez got a great jump at first base. And Centeno's throw couldn't have been any more on the money.
That's how you do it right there. That's a great jump. The runner does what he's supposed to do, but Centeno throws a perfect strike. And it would have taken a perfect strike Dozier just grabs the ball. The ball is right there where Ramirez is sliding into it.
Now a called strike, 1 and 2. It'll look to you like Ramirez got a good jump on Santiago?
He did, but he didn't really accelerate once he got that good jump. But it still was a perfect throw. He would have been safe with any other throw.
So the Indians don't have a hit. They've taken 2 walks, 1 runner erased on a brilliant throw by Juan Centeno. 1 and 2 to Brandon Guyer. Target is inside. The ball driven to right center field and deep. Kepler tracks it down on the warning track. Couple of walks, but a couple of hitless innings for Hector Santiago. Juan Centeno, Logan Schaefer, and Brian Dozier facing Trevor Bauer. What we just saw from Centeno, I think, will bode very well for him as the Twins try to adjust the roster. Looking forward to next year, not on an everyday basis, but I can imagine Juan Centeno returning next year as the number 2 catcher, giving the Twins some competitive at bats.
Well, another thing is he's played well here in Cleveland, and his numbers off Bauer are very good. He's 3 for 7, hitting .429. Not a lot of at bats, but he's had some good games here in Cleveland.
And it seems like the better pitched games that the Twins have had, if you can, rack your brain and use your memory and come up with those, Centeno's caught a larger portion of those. He's done a nice job calling a game. There's another called strike, 1 and 2. One of his 2 home runs on the year came here against Corey Kluber back in May. Two and 2. Home run, 4 runs batted in, 6 hits. A couple of doubles to the left center field gap here at Progressive Field. Pulled through the hole, a base hit.
There it is.
The Twins got a 1-out double in the first, now a leadoff single in the third.
And they got the fastball up and over the plate, and he didn't miss it. Bauer has been very good here to start the game for the first 2 innings. Good pitch count, good mixture of pitches, but this was the first real mistake right out over the plate. And Centeno's on with a leadoff base hit.
And the Twins debut of Logan Schaefer. He had 292 at bats for the Brewers spread over parts of 5 years. Signed in early June to a minor league deal. It was a high blast to center field. Retreating to the warning track. The edge of the warning track. And Schaefer's at bat last one pitch. And that'll bring up Dozier.
Still a nice gentle breeze blowing in from straightaway center field. During batting practice today, a little bit more of a breeze, and the balls were really flying out down the line to right field and down the line to left field. But when you hit it out there in that gap to gap area, left center to right center, the balls were getting knocked down a little bit.
Here's Dozier. He popped up to Napoli his first time up. Down and away, ball one. And pitch is up 2-0.
It's around the batting cage today, and I ran into a former teammate who works here as an advisor to the president here in Cleveland, Carlos Baerga.
Oh, yeah.
And Baerga, of course, hadn't met all the Twins players, and he introduced himself to Brian Dozier, and he says, I tell a lot of kids that you don't have to be big. And he's looking at him, and even Baerga is big compared to Dozier, and he said, it's how you swing the bat and be aggressive. And he says, I tell a lot of people how much I appreciate the way you play the game.
Boy, for a few years, Carlos Baerga was about as productive a second baseman as there was.
358 the year that I played with him. He was crushing the ball.
On the outside corner, Dozier taking. It's 3-1. And ball four. First and second, one down for Joe Mauer. Join Fox Sports North and the Minnesota Wild for the breakaway 10K, 5K, and 1 mile run Saturday, September 24th, benefiting the Herb Brooks Foundation. All participants receive a t-shirt and are qualified to win 2 sweet tickets for the Wild Jets game on Saturday, October 8th. For more information, visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on upcoming events on the Hot Topics bar. Be a lot of fans there, and we know Kevin Gorg will be there at the Wild Jets game on Sunday, October 8th. Here's Mauer. Twins threatening to break out on top, and Mauer takes strike one.
Well, if anything's true about what the manager was telling you today, with Bauer, first walk of the game to Dozier, and the Twins have had good success once he starts misfiring a little bit of scoring runs when they have their opportunities. Real first opportunity for the Twins. Joe Mauer was on second base back in the first inning.
Inside, and more on target throw might have made things interesting for Centeno. The Cleveland catcher tonight, Roberto Perez, doesn't hit much at all, but he shuts down the running game, and that's why he's in the lineup.
Great arm and a pretty good game caller.
1-1 to Mauer. Centeno undaunted. It's a nice extended lead at second base. You can see him on the very bottom of your screen. And Mauer takes up high, 2-1. Twins had winnable games Saturday and Sunday in Toronto, but they were able to finish off wins here. 5 of them already against the Cleveland Indians here in Cleveland. Trying to get the first lead of the game here in the 3rd inning. 2-2. Still don't see Joe do that much. Swing and miss at a mid-range fastball. That was 89 miles per hour. Looked like it was down the middle of the plate, and he doesn't swing and miss that pitch very often. He might foul it off. 2-2. And now 3-2. Trevor Plouffe on deck.
Now Bauer kind of digging himself a hole. He was on cruise control for 2 innings, and now he seems to be rushing a little bit. He's thrown a lot of balls up in the zone this particular half inning.
And a big pitch here with the full count and 2 men on. And Mauer fouled 94 straight back.
It's another thing you rarely see Joe do is ask an umpire if that was a strike.
He used to know better than the umpires did.
And I've had some great hitters. I asked him about that, and great hitters said I would never ask an umpire.
Right.
Because that way it lets them know that you might not be sure.
Another 3-2. Driven to right. And coming in to make the catch is Almonte.
Got a good jump on that ball out in right field.
Fairly well hit ball. We're not used to see Joe lining out to right field very often. Out number 2, and that'll bring up Plouffe. Plouffe called out on strikes. He took strike 2 and strike 3 to make the second out of the first inning. DHing today because Miguel Sano's elbow is feeling better, according to Paul Molitor and Miguel Sano.
Well, watching Sano take ground balls at third base today, you could almost sense that his arm felt better. You know, there was some pop to his throw across the diamond.
Plouffe takes high. And we might see the DH spot kind of rotate around here in the short term. I'd expect Mauer to DH a game here in Cleveland. Maybe Sano back in the DH spot tomorrow. Swing and a miss. 1-1.
Indians playing Trevor pretty much straight away, all the way around the infield and the outfield.
I think you have to. Trevor's shown the ability to spray the ball around.
Yeah.
Now, was that a decoy? Perez, as he gave the signal, then he patted his glove on the ground twice. Then there was a fastball right down the middle. Watch this. Three times. Then he sets up outside. And Bauer throws it right down the middle. What's that all about?
Just to keep it down.
Okay.
And he kept it down. If he would have gone up, that would have been a decoy.
Plouffe strikes out, stranding 2 runners. We are scoreless after 2.5. Is presented by CenturyLink. Switch to CenturyLink Prism TV for an advanced TV experience. Learn more at cprismtv.com. And by Bank of America. Life's better when we're connected. Hector Santiago's had some control issues here this evening, but a couple of scoreless innings. The Twins will take that. Abraham Almonte will lead off the third. And a first pitch strike. Almonte, Perez, and Davis. And another fastball for a strike. Santiago's start tonight delayed a couple of days because he's had a bruised thumb. He grips the ball with his thumb. There's a swing and a miss. And a strikeout to start the third inning. That'll bring up Perez. If you've seen still photographs of Santiago, he tucks his thumb under the ball when he delivers it.
Well, he records his first strikeout.
Said at times he's had so much pressure on the thumb, his left thumb, of course, that it's been numb, tingly. So the Twins gave him a couple of days to kind of quiet it down a little bit. Didn't bother him in July. Actually, it did, but you wouldn't know it from the results. He started experiencing the symptoms in July, but kept pitching and pitching well with it. 1-0 to Roberto Perez. Perez hitting just .151. The other catcher for the Indians, Chris Jimenez, isn't hitting much better than that.
Nor the regular guy, Yan Gomes.
Was struggling too.
Yep.
But Gomes is out with a shoulder injury. He suffered at Target Field, a spill at first base. And they say that, and of course it's his right shoulder, that Gomes can swing a bat now just fine, but the problem is throwing. And just doesn't sound real encouraging that Gomes might be able to rejoin the Indians by the middle of September. Throwing, a big part of Gomes's game. That's one of his strengths as a catcher.
Yan Gomes right there.
1-2 to Perez. Popped up, foul, and out of play.
I bet he was excited to watch the Olympics, being from
Sure.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, very few guys playing Major League Baseball from that country.
1-2. White Sox had a pitcher too, Rienzo, who was also from Brazil. Down and away, 2-2. Left-hander Derek Holland stymied the Indians yesterday. Now they're having a tough time against Hector Santiago. Fly ball to right. Kepler under it out, number 2. Used to be that's what you did if you wanted to beat the Indians. You threw a lot of left-handed pitching at them. But they've done much better against lefties this year. Mike Napoli, big part of that, of course. They've actually hit lefties better than righties. But the Twins, out of necessity, will throw 3 left-handed starters at Cleveland in this series.
Pat Dean, the one on the right there, he'll pitch the third game. Matt Albers, the one on the left, will pitch tomorrow.
Andrew Albers.
Or I'm
Yeah, that's all right.
Matt.
I just said Greg Holland.
Yeah.
So down and in to Rajai Davis. Davis with a fly to left his first time up. Now popped up. And Centeno near the Twins on deck circle has a play. Another good inning for Hector Santiago. Second inning in a row where he's faced just 3 batters. Is presented by Northland Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. What's yours? Pretty good little breeze still blowing in from right center field. Hector Santiago with his most encouraging start so far as a Twin. 3 scoreless innings. 3 hitless innings for that matter. Going it over with Neil Allen. Miguel Sano will lead off the 4th, and Max Kepler and Jorge Polanco. Strike on the outside corner.
You know, it was an interesting, it's just an observation. I'm not sure exactly what the conversation was between Neil Allen and Hector there, but it appeared to me that Neil was asking him about his thumb. Now, if a guy's got 3 shutout innings and haven't given up a hit, why would you even go over and ask him how his thumb feels? It's probably not completely about the thumb.
Pitch is up and in, 2-1. Sano hit a fly ball to right, leaving Mauer at second to close out the first inning. Sharply on the ground, bobbled by Lindor. He recovers and out at first. We'll see whether the Twins challenge. It was a close play. Sano is going to hang around first base, I think, here because he thinks he beat it.
We'll get the first look. You can see Lindor going to his left and just clanks it, picks it up, throws it hard across the diamond.
I think he's going to be safe.
He might be.
This is the start of the 4th inning here.
Still can't tell from that angle. Here we go. This might give us a better look.
Well, they won't challenge, I don't think. They won't get it overturned. I don't think. No. Sano retired. 1 down here in the 4th. And now Max Kepler took a fastball on the outside corner for a called 3rd strike, his first time up. When Kepler was hitting his home runs here in Cleveland and that fantastic flurry that he enjoyed here, Paul Molitor said, he's not a home run hitter. I just don't see it. Now, when you get 3 in 1 game, that kind of sounds foolish, but he says Max is a line drive type hitter. It's just he's had the right launch angle and backspin and all that other stuff hitters talk about to get it over the wall.
Would you say Brian Dozier's a home run hitter? I would say he is now.
He
and
is now,
exactly why is because he gets that tremendous backspin of hitting down on the ball, hitting the bottom half of the ball and having that backspin, which gives him carry. I think when Max gains some weight, strength, all those things, I think he will be a home run hitter.
Ooh, happily keep his foot on the bag.
Chris Conroy, first base umpires, had a couple close calls there, but he calls them out
on what should be routine plays.
The batter for Minnesota, the shortstop, Jorge Polanco.
And Napoli kept a toe on the bag, I guess. 2 down in the 4th. Now Jorge Polanco. He grounded out to Kipnis his first time up. But I guess to the manager's point, Max hasn't homered since the 2nd of August here in Cleveland. He has hit some line drives. Nearly hit one out at Target Field in the series finale against the Tigers. But
well, I think more than anything what he's saying is he doesn't go up there looking to hit home runs. And, a lot of home run hitters do.
Curious, now we'll have a few nights here, all 3 games, night games. I want you to offer your thoughts or comparisons to someone that I've already heard Kepler compared to, and that's a former teammate of yours, John Olerud. Swing and a miss, 2-1.
Well,
and Olerud hit some home runs, 20, 25 a year, but he was known as a high average guy and a gap-to-gap type guy.
Yeah, and a line drive hitter, and I think it's a pretty good comparison. I really do. Johnny had a great swing, and so does Max. So I think that's a fair comparison.
Napoli gets handcuffed by that second hop, and
Go ahead.
Polanco,
Go ahead.
with 2 outs in the inning, digs for second, and he's in with what should be a double. Polanco with a wicked 2-hopper in the second hop. Looked like it came up and bit Napoli in the wrist.
And they gave him a hit, so it's got to be a double. Yep.
Polanco at second, 2 down, and that'll bring up Rosario.
It's going to be a tough play for Napoli here at first base. He goes to his left, kind of goes back on the ball. The ball eats him up a little bit on a big hop. But a good job by Jorge Polanco of rounding first. He sees where the ball is. He knows he can beat Almonte with his throw to second base.
Now Rosario. Great numbers against Bauer. Bauer got him his first time up. Ball 1. Rosario, after grounding out to second in the second inning, still 8 hits and 17 at bats against Trevor Bauer. Twins have had a man in scoring position in every inning but the second. The chase upstairs, 1-1. And in, another swing and a miss. Seemed like an 89-mile-per-hour cutter, and then a 94-mile-per-hour exploding fastball.
Eddie has a tough time laying off the ball above his hands. He always seems to think that he can hit it. He's hit a few. I've seen him tomahawk a few and hit him a long way, but Bauer not afraid to go up in the zone. They're going to come out and talk about it with his catcher, Roberto Perez.
Quick trip to the mound by the Cleveland catcher. Lindor joining the conversation.
A lot of times this isn't just about one pitch. It's about the next couple of pitches, maybe even 3 pitches. If I miss this one, I want to go back here, and then if I miss that, I'll go there. And basically what he's saying is I don't want to leave it over the plate. You know, he's ahead in the count.
Right. Polanco at second. He runs pretty well. A hit to the outfield should get the Twins on the board. Pop foul back into the seats.
That looked very hittable to me, didn't it?
So you're asking the wrong guy, but.
Well, from a major league hitter's standpoint, the
There
ball
you go.
down the middle
There you
typically
go.
is a ball that you like to make a living on.
I think we saw a lot of that in the Toronto series, didn't we? Those were pretty hittable pitches.
Yes.
Another 1-2 to Rosario. Breaking ball in the dirt. Perez digs it out, and Rosario claiming that he foul tipped the ball. And now third base umpire Ron Culp may come in to confirm it. They're going to chat about this, and you normally don't see umpires chat about this unless someone really saw something to overrule the home plate umpire. But no. And now here comes Paul Molitor wondering what the conversation was about. The strikeout will stand. And Paul wondering, why did you talk to the third base umpire unless you were going to let him overrule your call? Polanco left at second, 3.5, no score. No score, bottom of the fourth. Jason Kipnis will lead things off against Hector Santiago, who's yet to give up a hit. Strike on the outside corner. Kipnis walked his first time up. Santiago walked Kipnis with 1 out in the first. Ramirez with 1 out in the second. 1-1.
Guy's throwing a no-hitter through 3, and it's not exactly pitcher perfect. It's not by design. A couple walks. He's fallen behind a lot of the hitters, but so far it's working.
Liner to left, and that's the first Cleveland hit. Rosario cuts it off. Kipnis will be held to a single. Perfect throw by Rosario right on the bag. Well, for one thing, the curveball that Bauer threw Rosario is the pitch Paul Molitor was talking about. Left-handed batters need to try to lay off it.
Yeah, watch Perez. He goes up and then back down. He's trying to deke Rosario if he's peeking at all, but that ball was a curveball that bit into the dirt. I don't think Eddie hit it at all, and he's asking the umpire to check the third base umpire, and I think that's when the conversation took place between him and Ryan Kolpa, the third base umpire, or Ron Kolpa, excuse me.
Jerry Meals is the crew chief. He's got plate duty. Here's Lindor with a runner at first, nobody out. Indians like to run. Kipnis is able to steal a base. They tried to steal in the second inning. Ramirez was thrown out by Centeno.
You know, the other day we were talking about all the great second basemen in the game. We didn't even mention that guy.
Kipnis?
Yeah, he's been an all-star.
Might be 2.
Should
They've
be.
got 1. And they've got 2. So Santiago cleaned up a walk by having a runner thrown out trying to steal, and now as quickly as Kipnis reaches on a base hit, Lindor wraps into a double play.
Well, let's take a look at the pitch. You can see it's down and away. Lindor tries to pull it, hits over the top of it. Nice little ground ball out there to Polanco. Easily turns it to Dozier. Good double play, good pitch, good result.
It was nice to have the bases empty for Napoli. He fouled out to Bauer. Bauer reached into the crowd to pull back the third out in the first inning. You pitch with peril, pitching Napoli up there. You'll see him swing and miss 7 or 8 times in a row on a fastball up in the letters. And then he'll hit one, and it'll go about 480 feet. So the first pitch high, next one taken for a strike, 1-1.
Well, with him, he's got an open stance, and he's fairly close to the plate with his back foot, which pretty much tells you he's trying to pull everything hard. And so you either have to get way in. You don't want to miss on the corner in because he can still hit that. You've got to get off the plate in and hope that he offers at it. And if he does, the only thing he'll do is pull it foul. He'll probably pull it foul hard. But to get him away, I think you have to go hard down and away. That's going to be the toughest pitch for him to hit.
There's that high fastball and another swing and a miss.
And by down and away, I'm not saying on the plate either. A lot of times it's got to be off the plate a little bit. But you're only going to get him to commit to that one if you're ahead in the count.
Missed inside. Napoli takes a 2-out walk.
Well, he's walked a man in every inning. Excuse me, he did not last inning. So it's his third walk.
57 pitches and only 29 strikes for Santiago. Carsoup.com trivia question: who holds the Cleveland franchise record for highest batting average in a single season? Okay, I'll go Napoleon Lajoie. Let's go back 100 years. Here's Carlos Santana.
Well, I always like to look up at the Hall of Fame guys in every stadium.
Yeah.
Look up there, fella, or he didn't hit. Boudreau, he might have.
Not for that high an average, I don't think.
No.
Hall of Fame shortstop.
Lemon. I don't think it's any of those guys. Larry Doby, maybe, but I think it's.
Inside a ball.
It's probably nobody we recognize in this generation.
Yeah, but see, there's Lajoie. That's my guess. Someone else in the booth here has guessed Joe Jackson over 100 years ago. 2-0 now to Santana. Popped up short right center field. Twins had a shift on, so Dozier has a long run, and he gets there to put the Indians away in the bottom of the fourth.
Still no score here in Cleveland, top of the fifth. Minnesota, the Twins fans, don't forget it. Twins home games, bring your Circle Me signs, and if you get circled, you may find yourself in the Minnesota Lottery Winner's Circle, where you could win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery.
Hey, we got a lot of home games coming up. We get home from final game here Wednesday. Centeno at the plate, ball one. And the Twins have 4 games at home with the White Sox, 3 with the Royals, a day off, and 3 with the Cleveland Indians. So
yeah,
add that up, that's 10. 10 home games in a row. Centeno slashes one foul.
Well, I haven't been with you on many of these road trips here, but it seems like you've been on the road a lot.
Well, the Twins had the 6-gamer in Atlanta, Kansas City. We're home for like 3 games.
Yeah.
Not like 3 games. It was exactly 3 games.
And that's like 3 games.
And then, you know, so it's a tough part of the schedule anyway. And then you don't win in a week and a half. And, you know, you can, as a team, and you know, were a fan before you were a player, and you've been a fan after you were a player. A team can survive. Busted bat, a little roller to second. One down, and with Logan Schaefer coming up next, let's go to Kevin Gord.
Yeah, guys, had a chance to meet him today in the clubhouse. He was excited about being here, and he said, you know, he's the type of player that wants to use his speed and be a smart, hardworking baseball player. He's been around the block. He's almost 30. He says the Twins have so many young outfielders, guys like Max Kepler, guys like Byron Buxton. He wants to be a good mentor to those kids. He wants to use his time up here to get a chance to play, and obviously he wants to go out there and be a part of a team, maybe turn this thing around as far as the losing streak goes. And he said his wife, who is from California, will meet him on Thursday at Target Field. This will be the last chance he'll get to see her before the season's over. She's expecting their first child in early October. As he put it, we're going to shut her down, let her get some rest, and I'm going to try to go out here and do some damage.
Well, pace of play is not a concern for Logan Schaefer.
He's 2 pitches, 2 outs.
He's made 2 outs. Flew out to center in the first pitch he saw in the third, and now a ground out to second. Dozier's Deck is back on September 10th. A limited number of special ticket packages includes a game ticket and limited edition Brian Dozier Blaze Orange stocking cap. Portion of the proceeds from every ticket purchased benefits Pheasants Forever. For details and tickets, visit twinsbaseball.com/Dozier's Deck. 2 down quickly, and now Brian Dozier will bat. A walk and a pop up to first. Slow breaking ball over for a strike. Started to say, you know, a team can survive one long losing streak. They're never pleasant, but you can survive them. But you can't survive a second one, or in this case, a third one. The Twins have had 3 losing streaks, 8 games or more. Best example of that in the years I've been doing games. 1985, the Twins contended in 1984, and a couple weeks into the season they had a 9-game losing streak, and almost immediately after that they won 10 straight. The ball hit hard, it'll hook foul, but then almost immediately after the 10-game winning streak ended, they had a 10-game losing streak again.
So basically you're playing 500 ball over 20 games.
Right, but then you have the second long losing streak, and that Twins team was never able to recover from the second one.
I think the whole goal is never to go into a losing streak. You know, have a stopper. You lose 2 or 3, and a guy can go out there and shut the door, and that's what great pitching can do. You're always in a game with good defense and good pitching. That's the formula for most championship teams.
You'd like to think that if you had that, if you had competitive starting pitching and an airtight defense, just a good defense, that you might lose a few in a row, but eventually the ball's going to bounce your way late in the ball game and you'll find a way to steal one.
What it does is it gives players on the field that have to stand around all the time and get a few at bats confidence that they're going to win. When you got a guy out there that commands the strike zone and you know, it keeps the defense on their toes, they're going to go out and play sharp and probably better defense. That'll tighten up that defense, and they're going to go out there and play with confidence. And I think this Twins team has enough offense. I really do. They've got a lot of good young players that can hit the ball, and it's a mind game, no question about it right now. But I really think it's a small difference if they could just have solid pitching.
Both Perez and Bauer thought that they hit the corner, but Jerry Meal said no, and it's 2-2.
They got Dozier his first at bat, a fly ball to the first baseman on a ball away.
And now a ball laced to left center, right center field. It's down for a hit, and with 2 outs, Dozier will give it a shot. Davis's throw in time to get in. A perfect throw, a pirouette from the gap in right center. And Rajay Davis throws out Dozier, trying to stretch a single into a double. Twins have been victorious here in Cleveland 5 times this year. And we settle in to play the bottom of the 5th inning. First pitch a strike to Jose Ramirez. Lifted to left, and going back is Rosario, and he'll play the carom, and it's Rosario's turn to throw. And Ramirez is in with a leadoff double in the 5th inning. Indians got a leadoff single in the 4th. Now Ramirez bangs one off the fence for a double to start the 5th.
Now Rosario was hoping to get that ball a little quicker, but Ramirez knew, and he really hustled around first base. He was a third of the way to second base before Eddie even picked up the ball. So good hustle, leadoff double. Now Hector's going to have to pitch with the first leadoff man on. I shouldn't say that either, because that happened in the fourth inning, but he got a nice double play to get out of it.
Now Brandon Guyer lined out to Kepler on the warning track in right center field, his first time up. Guyer bunts it in the air, foul. 1 strike. Sano is creeping in at third base. This is where Sano's arm, particularly when it's healthy, he told me today it still hurts a little bit when he throws. But we've seen Sano make that play, charging a bunt or a slow roller, and that arm really can be a game changer.
Well, he can make up for a step charging because of a strong, accurate throw.
1 strike to Guyer. Foul back, 2 strikes.
You know, with all fairness, though, Trevor Plouffe is pretty good at that play too. If he has a strength, it's the bunt ball, because he can come in. A lot of times he doesn't react the best, but when he gets to the ball, he's pretty good at picking it up barehand and throwing strikes across the first base.
255 at bats for Guyer, and he struck out 49 times. Santiago would like to strike him out or pop him up. And he struck him out.
Tip.
1 down, and that'll bring up Almonte. The Indians appear headed for a postseason play. The Tigers and Royals have something to say about that. Foul tip into the glove of Centeno. Should they get there, they'll be going without Almonte. He suffered, it was a self-inflicted wound.
That's right.
Yeah, he got stuck with a 80-game PED suspension at the start of the year, which means, as it did last year for Irvin Santana, he is not eligible for postseason play. Time called before the pitch. So no pitch. I don't know whether it was a strike or a ball, but Jerry Meals had his hands up as Santiago delivered the ball to the plate. Looked like it was inside anyway. Now low, a ball. And then about a month and a half into the season, Marlon Byrd got his second suspension, 162 games worth, and he just packed his stuff and went home. He's done playing baseball. Through it all, Robbie Grossman was playing for Cleveland's AAA ball club, and he didn't get a look by the Indians, and that's why he used his opt-out clause and ended up signing with the Twins. Swing and a miss, 1-1. Santiago trying to pitch around the leadoff double in the 5th. Popped up behind second base. And Dozier waiting for someone to call him off. Makes the catch himself, 2 down. And now the light hitting catcher, Roberto Perez. Mountain Dew fans of the game. Not many fans here in Cleveland. That's been one of the issues for the Indians. Twins fans here. The Twins can end their losing streak here tonight. And earlier we were talking about losing streaks, and the Twins have had 3 really long ones lasting more than a week. Cleveland's longest losing streak this year, 3 games. It's the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball.
And I think that's credit to their pitching staff. And you got guys that can go out and be the stopper. You got 3-4 guys in their rotation that can do that. You're not going to have extended losing streaks.
Perez the batter. Ramirez still at second. Huge lead at second base for Ramirez. If he wanted to, he could probably steal third.
Sano way off the line, guarding the line a little bit, way back behind third base. pretty much daring him to go.
One and oh. Fastball gets a swing and a miss. One thing's changed for the Indians since we were here at the start of the month. They no longer have the lowest ERA in the American League. Toronto has that now. And it's not that the Blue Jays have pitched that much better. It's just the Indians have had some issues now with the likes of Tomlin, Carrasco, Salazar. Close at second. But Ramirez gets back.
Pretty hard to stay consistent, isn't it? Everybody seems to struggle through it. You can see the daylight play, Brian Dozier, a timing play between him and Santiago, and whether or not Santiago picks up Dozier, break into the bag, he's got to spin and turn, throw a strike.
All back, 1-2. Twins, of course, are at the bottom of the league in team ERA, 5.12. The league average is 4.22. So essentially, every game the Twins have played this year, the game is from the norm, the American League average. It's 1-0 before the first pitch. Ramirez at second. Santiago trying to pitch his 5th shutout inning here tonight. Slow breaking ball bounced up the middle. Dozier shifting there, throws him out. And Santiago gives up a leadoff double but leaves Ramirez at second. We're still scoreless. Two teams played each other at the start of the month. There were a whole boatload of runs scored, so naturally at the end of the month, no score going to the 6th inning. See where Dozier was playing in part to help hold the runner at second. That allowed him to be in the vicinity on a ball that looked like it might bleed through the middle.
Positioning the infielder is always a key part of producing outs.
Joe Mauer will lead off the 6th. Each team's had some opportunities to score. Mauer takes a fastball on the outside corner.
Trevor Bauer has given up 4 hits, one of those to Joe Mauer.
Mauer has doubled off the wall and left, then he lined out to the right fielder Almonte. 1-1. You were a big Twins fan in the early 60s, right?
I was.
Yeah. On this date, 1963, the Twins hit 8 home runs in one game. Wasn't a doubleheader. 8 home runs in one game. 2-1. That's a lot of long balls.
Bad day for that pitcher.
That was the first season of 2 where the Twins in their history hit over 200 home runs in a season. The Twins still have a chance to hit 200 this year. The pace has cooled off a little bit. 3-1. Plouffe on deck. Did you go to Met Stadium a lot as a kid?
Not a lot, but I went to a fair amount of games. We'd probably go to half a dozen a year.
Oh, would you? Okay.
Yeah.
Driven foul, 3-2. I grew up in the outstate, and so it was one trip a year.
It was always fun. It was a big deal as a kid to go see those guys. Major League Baseball. Green grass.
That's what, and it sounds like a cliche, but that's what I remember. Because
manicured fields.
The games that we were able to watch were on black and white TV. There weren't many games on TV back then, but the TV games, televised games, were in black and white. So then you came to Met Stadium, and first time I went to my seat in the upper deck and saw this checkerboard pattern green grass. I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Tap to the right side, and great stop by Kipnis. Throws him out.
Wow.
What a play by Jason Kipnis.
That's all-out effort right there. You cannot do it any better than Kipnis did. He's got the Superman dive going to his left, and then he has to get up quickly, pivot and turn and throw a strike over to Napoli. He does it perfectly. Let's see it again.
At first I thought, well, Napoli made a mistake going to the bag. He knew who was over there and knew that Kipnis might be able to cut that ball off. Fine play by Kipnis. One down. That'll bring up Plouffe.
That's how you help your pitcher right there.
Plouffe takes up ball one. He struck out twice against Bauer. One's looking, one's swinging.
Those are the kind of plays that I correlate to good pitching. When you have good pitching like Bauer, he's been pitching. Santiago, both guys pitching well so far in this game. You get better defense. You get guys on their toes, ready to react.
Not sure if Bauer has an issue, whether something happened on his follow through. I guess he's all right. He and Perez kind of looked at each other. Jerry Meals kind of a quizzical look out there. 1-1 to Plouffe. 2-1. He caught his spikes in his shoelace. That's what it was. And Plouffe lines a base hit to left field. A one-out single, making Kipnis's play even bigger here in the sixth inning. The Twins Flex Plan gives you the flexibility to choose your games and your number of seats. You can choose in advance or even the day of the game. So don't plan, flex plan. Go to twinsbaseball.com/flex or call 800-33-TWINS to learn more.
You know, you're probably going to ask me if that ever happened to me.
Well, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
And quite honestly, no, it never happened to me because my follow through is quite different than that. But I did catch my spike many times in my lead foot.
Towering fly ball to right. Almonte makes the catch 2 away.
I remember a couple times falling right on my tail in the middle of a pitch because my spike caught in the dirt on my stride. And one time there was about 40,000 in Tiger Stadium, and all you could do is get up and kind of tip your hat
and hope there weren't runners on base.
Nobody was on. It was out of the windup.
Okay. Here's Kepler 0 for 2, called out on strikes and hit a ground ball to second. Down and in, ball one. Perez couldn't find it for a while.
Now, how can that be? I'm looking out at the flags. The U.S. flag, the tallest one, pretty much blowing straight down, and the other two flags are showing a breeze.
They're smaller.
I don't get it. Lower altitude?
They're physically smaller. It's, you know.
So they weigh less. So
they weigh less, so they're moving in the breeze.
All right. Physics, I guess.
Somewhere Ken Lavasser, my physics teacher in Staples High School, would be proud that I was able to explain that to Jack Morris.
I'll call him and ask him.
2-1 to Kepler. Twins looking for a 2-out hit here that give them their first lead. Kepler waits, and of course he's seen a lot of that, not just in this game, but since his breakout series here in early August. He's seen a lot more off-speed stuff.
Yeah, Bauer's really had a nice mix to Kepler. Kepler's just sort of in between on a lot of the pitches so far in this game. Struck him out in the first at bat, ground ball to second base in his second at bat. Now Perez is going to go back out there and discuss things.
You can imagine the Indians and Terry Francona making the point before the series started, let's not let Max Kepler beat us. Kepler did that twice here earlier this year, and for a rookie, I'm sure he's already earned an awful lot of respect around the league, but in particular with Terry Francona and the Indians.
Well, I think there comes a point from all managers who they realize there's guys in the lineup, and it's usually a veteran, a guy who's shown over the years that they've ruined to this day. It's kind of rare to say that about a rookie.
Kepler waits and taps it foul. Another off-speed pitch.
But that's a little Aretha is what that is. R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Yeah. Looks like Kepler will finish in the neighborhood of 400 at bats by season's end. This one squirted foul and into the seats. And Kepler will get some Rookie of the Year consideration. Michael Fulmer of the Tigers
in the hunt.
In the hunt on the pitching side, but the Indians have Naquin here.
Not in the lineup tonight, but.
And that's the thing. I mean, he rarely plays against left-handers. Kepler's become an everyday player for the Twins. 2-2. Off the mound and off the end of the bat, Lindor goes to the bag, and that wraps up the top of the sixth. Still no score here in Cleveland. Sports quite the way Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock do. The brains to know, the guts to say. Catch Colin and Jason on FS1's new daily sports talk show, Speak for Yourself, weekdays at 5 p.m. Central. When the Twins and Indians open the month of August with a 4-game series here, fairly deep to center, but drifting back is Schaefer. Schaefer played here last year. Out. Popped up down the right field line, and Kepler to the corner. Makes the catch, and a fair ball. Popped up down the right field line, and Kepler to the corner. Makes the catch, and a fair ball catch at that. 2 down on 2 fairly deep fly ball outs. 2 down on the 6th. Lindor coming up, and we will answer our Carsoup.com trivia question. I think you're looking back at the retired numbers, but I'm going to pick out a guy who never wore a number. Napoleon Lajoie. The highest single season batting average for an Indian. And it was shoeless Joe Jackson. He didn't wear a number either.
408.
That's pretty good.
You think we'll ever see 400 again? You know, I'm a firm believer in never say never,
yeah,
but I doubt it.
1 strike. And now a ball. You know, and I think given how teams finally have used shifts for individual players, I think that would make it even more difficult than it ever was.
You might see 400 strikeouts in the season some year.
You know, there have been great batsmen over the last few decades. Wade Boggs, certainly before that, Rod Carew. But those players, too, I think would be shifted and would have lost hits because of the shifts. A rocket up the middle, a 2-out single for Lindor.
You look at the guys that have come close in the last few decades. Carew, Brett, John Olerud. You know, they end up in the 380s, the 390 maybe. They're still 10 points away. Ted Williams being the last one to do it. And that was, I don't know, you're better at these year guesses than I am, but when did he hit 400 last?
46.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
You know, we were really excited when Rodney came close at 388 in 77. Here's Napoli with a man aboard. When you think about it, the Brett year when he hit 390, I mean, Rod got a lot of infield hits and bunt singles and all that. George didn't do that. That wasn't much of his part of his game, and he barely had enough plate appearances to qualify for the batting title that he won. But that was a wonderful year that saw the Royals get to the World Series the first year in 1980. 1-0 to Napoli. And now 2-0. Napoli drew a walk his last time up.
This is kind of turning into one of those games where you feel like a mistake could be the difference maker, and certainly Santiago doesn't want to put Lindor out at second base and put the tie or the go-ahead run in scoring position. So it's a tough at bat. He's got to go after Napoli here.
3-0. Carlos Santana on deck. A couple of deep fly balls here in the 6th inning. Lindor with a sizzling single up the middle. And Napoli will be green lighted here. And Santiago misses. Second time that Napoli has walked. 4th walk issued by Santiago. 1st and 2nd, 2 away. When Santiago made his Twins debut, here on August 4th. It was a day game. Santana came up with runners at first and second and clobbered a 3-run home run. The game kind of fell apart in the late innings. It was a competitive game up until Santiago's 3-run home run. Rogers getting loose.
Well, Napoli leading the team right now in home runs with 29, but this guy only a couple behind him. Carlos Santana with 27.
And the Indians have had 2 runners on in 1 inning at the same time. Fastball and a strike. Santana average-wise a little bit better from this side of the plate than the left side of the plate. Not nearly as much power. Just 3 home runs as a right-handed batter, and one of them, as we said, against Santiago. 1-1. Tonight, Santana has bounced to short and popped to second. Fouled back. Santana was ready for the fastball and fouled it straight back. Two to Carlos Santana. Off to second. Santiago gets Lindor's jersey dirty.
And you saw Juan Centeno tapping the ground. He wants this pitch, this next pitch down. Whether it's a curveball, I didn't see the signal, but I believe he's going to throw a breaking ball here and encourage him to keep it down.
Popped up. Mauer calling for it. And Hector Santiago with 6 shutout innings. And they've got a pitcher's duel to open up this series in Cleveland. Slugfest here in Cleveland, and now a pitcher's duel.
Well, Santiago 6 strong innings, only allowed 3 hits, and Trevor Bauer 6 strong innings, allowed 5 hits. Both pitchers throwing shutout ball. Bauer with 4 strikeouts, just 1 walk, and he'll give way to the big, strong left-hander Andrew Miller. Came over from the Yankees. Should be a closer for a lot of ball clubs, but he is in a role that still gives way to Cody Allen.
Polanco, Eddie Rosario, Juan Centeno will bat, and Andrew Miller has all of 1 save since coming over from the Yankees. They paid a stiff price to get him, but you're right, Allen's been given most of the save opportunities. And Terry Francona is not only a frequent user of his bullpen, he uses it in a very unorthodox way. And he made or brought Miller out of the bullpen to make his Indian debut against the Twins in the 6th inning of the final game of the series here. Strike 1 and now strike 2. But what's curious about it, though, Jack, is he is the only left-hander in their bullpen. And so using Miller here in the 7th might the results might be good, but then, you know, Mauer will be able to hit his next time up without Miller being available.
Yeah, Miller barely, I mean, he rarely goes more than an inning.
Right.
He's not one of those guys that'll pitch the 7th and 8th.
2 strikes. And Polanco grounds to the left side and off the glove of the 3rd baseman and to the glove of Lindor. An infield hit for Polanco. And the leadoff man is aboard.
Polanco has good speed, so Jose Ramirez is going to have to field that ball cleanly to have a shot. He's kind of upset with himself. Watch it again. You'll see that it's a couple hopper down towards 3rd. Ball that probably should have been caught right there. But Polanco will get an infield hit.
We'll see if Rosario's asked to bunt here. Ramirez is in on the grass at 3rd. Twins would love to get Polanco into scoring position in a tough lefty-lefty matchup. Rosario takes down and away, ball 1. One area, personnel aside, where the Twins need to do a better job as soon as possible, but certainly by next year, executing in situations like this.
These are the small parts of the game, the fundamentals that go way back to youth baseball, and it's been a challenge. You're absolutely right. Paul Molitor, managers like to take over. I mean, it's been a pitcher's duel. It's been a very well pitched game, and so managers start looking at what they can do from the 7th inning on to produce a run. And right now, Paul Molitor gets a leadoff man on. He needs that runner in scoring position. Rosario's job is to get it down. He's going to ask him to bunt again.
2-1. Now, if you're winning games or losing games, 12-5, 13-5, like the first series here in August, so it's not that big of a deal. It's still important, but this is not one of those games. This first run, given the lateness of the game here in the 7th inning, is going to be very important. And just half-heartedly jabbed at again, 2-2.
Well, that's just poor execution right there. Eddie Rosario was like stabbing at it. It was like he was drag bunting. It's not a drag bunt situation. You've got to square and then push the ball right towards. Watch how he bails. Well, he's going towards first base and just shoving his bat out there. You've got to go down after that ball if you're going to make an attempt.
Or wait for a strike. And Miller struck him out on 5 pitches, and I don't think any of the 5, even the 2 bunt attempt, were on strikes. So 1 down, and now Centeno.
Well, even on this pitch, he's looking to pull the ball.
You know, look at where the 5 pitches were, and Rosario tried to bunt on 2 of those, and they weren't strikes.
Yep. Not one of them were strikes.
Here's Centeno, a single and a ground ball to 2nd. So that changes everything for the 8 and 9 batters here. Now they've got to either get 2 hits or an extra base hit to maybe score the run. Ball 1.
Well, I think if you have any idea what patterns are, Andrew Miller is pitching away. So Centeno was looking to pull the ball. He's got his open stance, his foot real close to the back foot, close to home plate, wants to pull the ball. Wrong approach. You've got to get on top of the plate and try to drive the ball to the left, because that's where he's trying to pitch you.
Or might have made a mistake on that last pitch. Looked like a breaking ball that was left over the inner half, but Centeno swung through it. 1-1. And a ball softly into center field, a base hit. And Polanco scampers around second. He'll gain third base. And for the successful sacrifice bunt by Eddie Rosario. First and third, one down.
Perfect opportunity for Polanco to watch the ball in front of him. He knew that that ball was going to be a doinker that falls in, and he's off to the races. Everything's right in front of him. He can watch it unfold, and he's off to third base as soon as he sees there's nobody around the baseball. So first and third with one out.
And Robbie Grossman is going to hit now for Logan Schaefer. First time either team's had a runner at third base. Grossman spent all of spring training with the Indians and then spent the first 5-6 weeks of the minor league season with the AAA club for Cleveland. And Schaefer 0 for 2 in his Twins debut. Grossman, as if you've watched, you know he's a much better right-handed batter than left-handed batter. So the insertion of Miller into this game plays into Paul Molitor's and Robbie Grossman's hand here. Strike one.
Well, the Twins with no other outfielders, so Grossman will go into the game in the left field. Rosario will shift over to center field.
Twins with just 3 bench players to start a game these days. The other 2 are Escobar and Suzuki. Big spot here for the pinch hitter Grossman. Fouled away. And Miller gets ahead 0-2. Grossman as a pinch hitter is 0 for 1. The Twins are on the season 8 for 38, but with 4 pinch hit home runs. A couple of them by Eddie Rosario. 0-2. Miller to Grossman. And Grossman is gone on 3 pitches, 2 down.
A bat foot slider from Andrew Miller, one of the tallest left-handers in the game, and he just buries that slider down and in to Grossman.
Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. And now first and third, 2 down, both outs on strikeouts. And Miller will go after Brian Dozier. Dozier's faced Miller 4 times and has gone 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Just outside, ball 1. Neither team has been able to get a hit with a runner in scoring position. Neither team has been able to get a meaningful 2-out hit. Checked his swing, 2-0. Twins haven't had much exposure to Miller or much success. Two and 0. Strike call, 2-1. Miller has shown Dozier that slider. And that time he had to throw it for a strike. Something he doesn't prefer to do. Popped up behind first. Chased by Napoli. A foul ball by about 5 feet. And Dozier was able to make contact, and he nearly got a Texas League RBI single.
Well, he fought off a ball that really got in on him. Napoli just not the fleetest of foot, could not get to that ball. It hung up there long enough. The real question was going to be whether it was going to be fair or foul. That would have scored at least 1 run. I'm sure Centeno would have probably made it all the way around to third.
2-2 to Dozier. A slider that nearly hit Dozier in the knee. A swing and a miss. The Twins get a couple of singles, can't get a bunt down, and don't score. award again this week. First guy to do it in back-to-back weeks. First rookie to do it. Mookie Betts got number 30, couple of home runs the last 3 games. And Josh Donaldson got 3 yesterday and 1 tonight.
Yeah, good to see we're not the only ball club giving up home runs to Josh.
7th inning, and now Jose Ramirez will lead things off against Hector Santiago. And the first pitch over for a strike. Robbie Grossman in left field. And Rosario moving to center. Popped up near the Cleveland dugout. Sano is over for a look and can't make the play. Hit the netting actually near the end of the dugout. And Eddie Rosario in center with Schaefer out of the game. Good to see Santiago out there in the 6th inning. Twins lost a tough ball game Saturday. And then lost one on Sunday, too, because a lot of the relievers the Twins would rely on protecting a lead late were unavailable.
Yeah, the only Twins starter pitching into the 7th has been Irvin Santana. What a
Dozier
play.
with a fine play with Polanco cutting in front of him. We used to see Dozier do that a lot. He's done less of it this year, but going into a slide before he fields the ball. 1 down.
Well, the shift was on, so Dozier was over to the shortstop side of second base. This ball is pretty much right at the shortstop. But, of course, Polanco playing deep in the hole.
And now Brandon Geyer will hit. Good play by Dozier and a 1-hop throw. And Santiago delivers low, ball 1. Geyer 0 for 2. Hit a liner to the gap in right center, hauled in by Kepler. And Santiago needed a strikeout after Ramirez's leadoff double in the 5th, and he struck out. There's a liner picked off by Polanco. Throws off target. Polanco fielding a 1-hop smash and then throwing it into the camera well. Did I get Kevin Gorg?
Let's hope not. We need Gorky. He's only with us 1 day here.
Old goaltender should have known how to get out of the way of that one. So Polanco with a 2-base error, and now Geyer is at second with 1 down.
Well, he makes a nice pick of this ball, going back and just finds his glove, and then he wheels, makes a really strong throw. Unfortunately, not an accurate throw.
And that'll be the end of the game. There's Kevin Gorg. Apparently no worse for the wear. And the Twins will go to their bullpen here with 1 out in the 7th.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Minnesota Twins. New pitcher for the Twins will be Ryan Presley. No surprise there. He's the guy that Paul goes to in these situations. 62nd game for Ryan.
Could not go to him yesterday trying to protect the lead. Pat Light was brought out instead. Light got through the 6th, but then ran into some trouble in the 7th. And a runner at second. It's Brandon Geyer. Abraham Almonte will now hit left-handed against Presley. Presley's had a couple of disappointing outings in a row where he's given up a lot of hits and 2 runs in each of his last 2 outings. Swing and a miss. What we haven't seen from Ryan is something we just saw. A lot of swings and misses. He is a swing and miss guy. Not so much with a fastball, but with that breaking ball. But in his last 2 outings, lasting 2 innings, he's given up 9 hits.
I'll be honest with you. He's the most puzzling part of the Twins bullpen for me. He's got such electric stuff, and it just hasn't been favorable for him most of the year. He's got a 96, 97 mile-an-hour fastball. He's got off-the-table breaking ball. But command probably being the issue. Boy, in Toronto, it seemed like every tough pitch he threw was fouled off.
Right.
And then he makes a little bit of a mistake over the plate, and it costs him a ball game.
He's got Almonte in an 0-2 pitch, or 0-2 count. We'll see if the curve will strike him out here. It did. 2 away.
Big out right there.
And that's what you're talking about. I mean, you look at that curveball. It's a 12-6 breaking ball that starts chin high and ends up around the ankles.
We'll take a better look from the center field camera here of the total depth of that pitch, but starts about belt high, breaks down by the ankles. Nobody's going to hit that pitch. That's all there is to it.
2 down, and now Perez will be pinch hit for. Lonnie Chisenhall will hit for the Cleveland catcher. Perez out of the game. He went 0 for 2. In starting 3 left-handed starters in this series, the Twins all but take Chisenhall and Naquin out of Terry Francona's mix, at least in the starting lineup. Chisenhall is one of their more productive hitters, but he has just 42 at-bats against lefties. Naquin has just 27 at-bats against lefties. And so we might not see Chisenhall or Naquin start any of the games, but then the other side of that is they're available to pinch hit now, and Chisenhall with the go-ahead run at second comes up with 2 down here in the 7th. In the dirt, smothered by Centeno.
Well, the difference again for both managers, Paul's got 3 left-handers in the bullpen, and Terry Francona's just got the one in Andrew Miller, but Miller very effective against right-handed hitters.
Right.
He struck out 3, 2 of them right-handed hitters to get out of that jam in the 7th.
Chisenhall 3 for 7 against Ryan Presley. And that cutter, that fastball that has a little movement at the end, gets a swinging strike. 1-1. Geyer runs well. He's at second base. Breaking ball. Check swing. Ball 2. Presley's breaking ball, a weapon for a batter, but also cause for concern for a catcher. That was a good take by Chisenhall there. And he drops it over for a strike. Two and 2.
Well, he needs to make a pitch here to Lonnie. Keep this well-pitched game intact. Just pick up his own spirits.
Got him with a breaking ball. And Centeno flips to first, and Ryan Presley with a marvelous relief job. Stranding Geyer at second. We head to the 8th, and still no score.
in Baltimore. Now let's go back to Cleveland. Dick and Jack.
Where we are scoreless, and Joe Mauer will lead things off in the 8th inning. Andrew Miller still out there. Chris Jimenez is catching. So Miller asked to pitch through the 7th inning, where he threw a lot of pitches and faced 5 batters, perhaps just to face Mauer. Ball 1. 21 pitches for Miller. Twins got a leadoff single, but only got Polanco as far as third base in the 7th. Fastball and a strike. Brian Shaw getting loose. My guess is the Indians will make a pitching change after the Mauer at bat.
Has Shaw not pitched in any game against the Twins in the last 5 years?
I think so. I think he's pitching every game, hasn't he? Yeah.
Hasn't he?
Sharp ground ball hitting Kipnis. And here comes Terry Francona. He'll take Miller out.
Well, that was just there for Joe Mauer, so he'll be out of the game.
Well, Miller ended up facing 6 men, retired 4 of them. Here comes Shaw. Cleveland. Attention veterans throughout Twins territory. Hiring our heroes has helped thousands of veterans find meaningful employment. In partnership with the Medal of Honor Convention Twin Cities and the Minnesota Twins, they invite you to a free hiring event at Target Field September 1st from 11 until 2 p.m. All registered veterans and spouses are eligible for 2 tickets to that night's Twins-White Sox game. To register, go to mohjobfair.org. And you wanted to see him, Jack Morris. Here he is, Brian Shaw.
Slider, slider, slider. Brian Shaw is Mr. Everyday Eddie. We had one of those, and that's what he is for Terry Francona. This guy in his 60th game, and he throws sliders as advertised.
Trevor Plouffe will face him first, 2 for 8 with a home run in his matchups against Shaw. Pitches up, ball 1. Trevor struck out twice and singled against Trevor Bauer. And swing and a miss, 1-1. Twins trying to end a 10-game losing streak. They've played very well here in Cleveland, having won 5 of the 7 games here. And somebody's going to have to come up with a big hit late for them to end the losing streak. Fly ball right field, and retreating is Almonte. 2 down. And that'll bring up Miguel Sano. Snow is 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts against Shaw.
For the Twins, number 22, Miguel
Okay, we got to call your physics guy again. Two of the flags, the big one and the little one, are pretty much straight down. We got one blowing. We got a fan underneath. That's it. They got a fan underneath the one.
How about this? If Sano hits it, it won't matter.
I agree.
My physics professor or high school teacher would concur with that.
Something about energy and.
Ooh, he hit it hard, and a liner will go all the way out. And is it caught by Davis? It is.
Hit it too hard.
Sano with a ball that never got more than 10 feet in the air, and it carried all the way out to Davis, who made a nice diving catch in center field.
Cleveland, I'm Anthony LaPanta inside Mall of America studio. Stay with us after the game for Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink. We'll break down the pitcher's duel, show you how Hector Santiago has suddenly seemed to find it for Minnesota, trying to snap a 4-game personal losing streak since joining the Twins. And we'll hear from Paul Molitor. It's all coming up after the game on Twins Live. Now let's go back to the ballpark. Dick and Jack.
Thank you, sir. We go to the bottom of the 8th. No score. Ryan Presley out there to start the inning, and he might be asked to do exactly what Andrew Miller did, face one guy in the 8th. And we'll see if the Twins make a change for Kipnis. First pitch lifted foul. 1 strike. Davis is 0 for 3. Made a fine diving catch in center field on Sano's rifle shot. A couple of outfield flies and a foul out to Centeno for Davis tonight. Sharply hit, picked off by Polanco, and a low throw. Mauer can't dig it out in time. Davis beat it out. Polanco last time had pretty much the same play and threw wildly. This a better throw. We'll see if the Twins challenge it on a very close play at first.
Well, Rajai Davis still has an excellent speed. He gets out of the box quickly because he knows that Polanco makes a great play here.
Ooh, that's going to be close. See if the Twins challenge it. There's very little to lose at this point. And they're not going to challenge. Thumbs down apparently from Joe Vavra. Now we'll see if Kipnis is asked to bunt. No activity in the Twins pen. I thought perhaps Taylor Rogers would be up to face Kipnis, but some switch hitters and right-handed batters due up afterward.
Well, Kinsler's getting up right now and start throwing.
First pitch strike. Indians had a leadoff double in the 5th, didn't score. Leadoff single in the 4th, obviously didn't score. See what they can do here with this leadoff 8th inning infield single. There's Kinsler. Might be 2. 1. Safe at first. And there's Paul Molitor's left foot. A little frustration, I think, from the manager, saying, hey, one of those two we ought to get called right. It makes all the difference in the world what the original call is. And I'm guessing in this one, too, there wouldn't be enough evidence to overturn it one way or the other.
He might be looking at the slide from Rajai Davis. He didn't go directly toward the bag. That was the old-fashioned roll slide. I think he's safe at first.
So no challenge. And here is Lindor. 1 down. Davis and Kipnis both run well, and the speed has kept Presley from enjoying this 8th inning. Dropped by Dozier. They'll get the force at second. A rocket, and Dozier was able to knock it down. It didn't stay in his glove, but thankfully it didn't carry him too far away. 2 down.
Lindor did not exactly run hard, and had Polanco been more aware of that, he might have tried to throw the ball over to Joe Mauer.
Couple of well-hit balls here in the 8th inning against Presley, and so that'll be the end of the night for him. 2 down, a runner at first. Napoli, the batter, and here is Paul Molitor going to get his closer into the game in a tie game in the 8th inning. As he says, thinking out of the box. Brandon Kinsler will warm up and pitch to him with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Join Fox Sports North and the Wild for a live town hall featuring owner Craig Leopold, general manager Chuck Fletcher, and new head coach Bruce Boudreau as they share insights into the coaching staff, current roster, and future of the team. You know Kevin Gorg will be there. Wild Town Hall live tomorrow at 7 p.m. on Fox Sports North Plus, or following Twins a live post-game show on Fox Sports North. One big difference between how Terry Francona's used his bullpen in bringing Miller in and the Twins' use of Kinsler here in the 8th inning. Paul Molitor doesn't have Cody Allen, so they've got a closer. Not that they would need one as the home team, but Paul Molitor trying to win this game in 9 innings. He reasonably can expect Kinsler to try to get through the 8th and then through the 9th. And then after that, if the Twins are to have a lead, someone else is going to have to try to protect the lead.
Well, two things he brings in Kinsler for. First of all, he's a fresh arm. He hadn't pitched in a long time and hasn't had an opportunity to save a game in a long time. So he needs him in there right now to get some outs.
So the Twins hoping to get to the 9th inning in a tie game. That's Kinsler's immediate job. And then the Twins hope that they can get a lead in the top of the 9th. And then Kinsler would hope to get those 3 outs. First pitch popped up foul and out of play. Paul Molitor said over the weekend, both in Saturday's and Sunday's game, more so Saturdays than Sundays, I think, that he was thinking about bringing Kinsler in a non-save situation because he realized things were slipping away in the 7th inning. Chose not to do it. Check swing. That should be a strike. No. What was the pitch? 1-1. Happily checked his swing. I thought the pitch had the corner. Napoli 1 for 3 against Kinsler. Squirted off the end of the bat for a base hit. Lindor will dig for third. Kepler's throw comes through.
Got him.
They got him. A perfect one-hop throw from Max Kepler. And Lindor makes the final out of the inning at third base.
Perfect throw. And he took some abuse, too.
Shame only 11,327 paid to watch this tonight. It's been a very entertaining game with some great plays. Max Kepler beat the Indians twice with his bat here earlier this month, and an awfully strong throw right on target may have kept the Twins in this game.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Lindor rounded the bag because Kepler had already got the ball in his hand when he is about a step away from second base. And he threw a perfect strike all the way over to Miguel Sano.
And now Kepler will lead things off against the Indian closer, co-closer, Cody Allen. Just outside, ball one. Kepler 0 for 3. A much quieter series so far for Kepler than his first series here in August. Flared foul, 1-1. Kepler, Polanco, and Rosario, and Allen, of course, as the home team In a tie game here, you don't need to save your closer for a save opportunity if you don't have the lead by the top of the ninth. They're now fouled back 1-2.
Now Allen getting in on Max Kepler. Max pretty good at barreling up those balls at the inner half of the plate. But the difference is they're not down and in. They're right underneath his hands.
1-2 to the Twins right fielder.
Go away with a fastball here.
On the outside corner. Something with a wrinkle in it.
Yep. Great pitch right there. Great command, great location.
One down, and that'll bring up Polanco.
Now at bat for the Twins, number 11, Jorge.
Jimenez called a fastball, but that ball had some serious break to it. So maybe they've changed signs a little bit. Could have been the curveball in a fastball situation. Number 1 being the curveball, number 2 being the fastball, maybe.
Polanco with 2 hits. Twins only have 7 of them. And he takes in the dirt, ball 1. Polanco with a double in the 4th and a single in the 7th. And the average now just a few ticks below 300. One and one. Rosario will follow. Two and one. Twins would love to get Polanco's speed on the bases again. He's the only runner for either team to have reached third base successfully. To left center field. And Davis underneath it. Out number 2. And that'll bring up Rosario. Rosario 2 for 4 against Allen, but he struck out the other 2 times.
Well, he had a tough at bat against Andrew Miller where he ends up striking out because he was asked to lay down a bunch and he couldn't do that twice.
And then, of course, almost predictably, Centeno followed with a base hit. Driven hard to left center field. That's down for a hit. And Rosario will get into scoring position with a 2-out double. Rosario driving the first pitch he saw from Allen sharply to the gap in left center field.
Well, there haven't been that many well hit balls in this ball game, and that being one of them right there. And he gets the ball down and away. This time does a better job of keeping his front shoulder in and swinging where the ball is.
And now Centeno. Couple of singles in 3 trips tonight.
Juan continues to hit well here in Cleveland. 2 for 3 tonight.
Centeno's never faced Allen. Breaking ball left up high. If Centeno can reach, Grossman will have a second plate appearance tonight. Down and in 2-0. Grossman hoping for a chance after striking out against Miller in the 7th. Swing and a foul. 2-1. Tigers are trailing the White Sox 3-2 in the 7th inning at Comerica Park. Two and one to Juan Centeno. Two and two. Twins got 2 hits against Miller in the 7th, but didn't score. Now a 2-out double against Allen. And they'll need one more hit here to score the first run of the game. 62 runs were scored in the 4 games between these two teams in early August. And nothing on the board here in the 9th tonight. That gets by. At strike 3, Centeno has to run to first, and he's thrown out. A wild pitch, and the Twins bench is furious.
Well, it's a call where the home plate umpire asked the third base umpire if he swung, and he did. Centeno just thought the ball was in the dirt, did not run. So Paul's going to come out of the dugout and try to get an explanation for this.
Did he check his swing? At least the appeal was made by Jerry Meals, and Ron Kulpa said he went. Now, if he went, it's a moot point. Centeno didn't think he went, and I don't think he was aware until the very end that the ball had gotten away from Jimenez. No score going to the bottom of the 9th. All right, did he go or did he not go?
Look where the plate is. Look where the bat is, all the way in front of home plate. So that's a strike.
I'm not. Of course, I defer to you, but I didn't think he went.
Really doesn't matter what either one of us think.
That you're right about. First pitch strike to Carlos Santana. That looked like a check swing in slow motion to me. That looked like a check swing when it happened.
You can't put the barrier. Here's how you defend that, right? The ball, if it was out in front of home plate, what a catch for Joe Mauer. 1 out.
1 out here in the 9th.
The ball was up in the zone, and he checked swing, and his bat's out in front of home plate. He could get a base hit on it.
Okay. 1 down. And Ramirez will hit here with the bases empty. Kinsler. There's an outside chance, Jack. If he could have a quick inning here, because Napoli's at bat last, he might get one more inning. But the Twins are really in a curious spot here with their closer in to get the last out of the 8th. Hopefully getting 3 outs here in the 9th.
Well, you don't have any activity either, which, you know, usually you're going to start getting up with 1 out or for sure 2 outs if you're getting somebody else up.
And maybe in some way this is where Kinsler's reputation of being a strike thrower will help him too. It's conceivable he could get through this 9th inning in pretty quick shape, and Twins would have one more chance to score in the top of the 10th with their closer on the mound. 2 strikes to Ramirez. And now a ball.
Either case is such an important first out, which he got in Carlos Santana. Santana hit it hard right to Joe, but it's recorded as an out, so 1 pitch, 1 out.
1-2 to Ramirez. 1-3. 2 down, and that'll bring up Geyer. Eventually someone will score, and we will have a second game tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Here's what's next, brought to you by CenturyLink. Another left-hander for the Twins, Andrew Albers, against Josh Tomlin, who's really struggled his last handful of starts.
It's Andrew Albers pitching tomorrow for the Twins.
Geyer is 0 for 3. He's hit the ball hard a couple of times, once to Kepler in the gap in right center. And then Polanco picked off his 1-hop smash. Oh, this is just
perfect
what the doctor ordered. Not only a 1-2-3 inning, but Kinsler's gotten 4 outs on 10 pitches. No score as we go to the top of the 10th inning. And a well-pitched game and some great defense along the way.
Yeah, both teams helping their pitchers out. See Brian Dozier going to his right on a shift, making a nice play. Of course, Jason Kipnis with a great play to rob Joe Mauer of a hit. Rajay Davis coming in, diving for a ball. And then Max Kepler with a great throw, getting Lindor at third base. Good defense by both ball clubs.
Robbie Grossman lifts one foul over the Cleveland dugout. Allen still out there for the Indians. He hasn't thrown that many pitches either. It'll be Grossman, Dozier, and Mauer. Maybe factor for the Twins here if they can get Grossman aboard. Maybe more of a factor if they can get Dozier aboard. Jimenez doesn't have the reputation of being a great thrower behind the plate. Grossman takes strike 2.
And Grossman 1 for 3 off Cody Allen. 333 clip.
Zach McAllister getting loose if the pitch count mounts for Allen. Again, they have no left-handed relievers. They've already used Miller. And Grossman on 3 pitches strikes out. Extra innings are presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky all season long. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. With 1 down in the 10th, Brian Dozier will bat. Dozier with a couple of hits and 8 at bats. No Twin player has ever homered against Allen, and that's not that surprising. He doesn't give up many home runs. 54 4 in 2/3 innings, only 7 home runs allowed, and Dozier takes strike 1. Grossman grimacing, and he's got Tony Leo with him.
Tony's walking him. He might be hurt.
That's I think the international sign for I did something to an oblique. Down and away, 1-1. Nothing visibly, but then grabbing for his lower back. Dozier takes 2-1. 1 for 3. Dozier with 2 outs in the 5th. Hit one to right center field and did the smart thing. Tried to turn it into a double, but was thrown out on a good throw by Rajai Davis. Drilled to left. Geyer goes into a slide to catch a sinking line drive. 2 down.
Twins have hit a few balls hard right at the outfielders.
What's interesting as we look forward to the bottom of the 10th, whether the Twins get a lead or not, Grossman entered the game for Schaefer. And if for some reason Grossman can't continue, then the Twins are going to have to do some shuffling and may have to put Escobar back in the outfield, although it looks like Grossman's okay. Here's Mauer. Ball 1. Joe's hit the ball hard a couple of times, has just 1 hit.
And the Twins have 9 guys in the bullpen, and there's some running up and down the hallway there, so something might be taking place. Escobar might be getting loose. 9 guys in the pen, and only 3 pinch hitters for Paul Molitor on the bench. Of course, Robbie Grossman is one of them already, so there's 2 guys left, Escobar and Kurt Suzuki. You got to have a backup catcher.
2-0 to Mauer. If Joe can extend the inning, Plouffe will hit. On the outside corner. There's a quote outside the Twins clubhouse from Hall of Famer Bob Lemon. He says the two most important things in the world are good friends and a good bullpen. And the Indians have that. I don't know how many friends they've got. There are only 11,000 fans here tonight in the dirt, 3-1. But it is very true, and that was spoken 50 years ago. And the importance and emphasis on the bullpens is even greater now. Indians have gone Miller, Shaw, Allen. 3-1 to Mauer. On the outside corner, Joe is ready to go to first. That was not a strike. Caught well by Jimenez. Taken low, and Mauer will reach with a 2-out walk. And that'll get Plouffe to the plate. And now Allen with 27 pitches, presumably will be asked to finish the inning. Enough pitches to where in 2 innings he might not be available tomorrow, but the Twins trying to end the losing streak tonight.
Well, it's an important game for Terry Francona and the Cleveland Indians also.
Yeah.
Tigers still trailing in their game.
Just outside. Ball 1. Plouffe with a single and 4 trips, including a couple of strikeouts. Just off the plate. Sharply hit, and it skips by Lindor into left field, and Mauer will advance to second base, and that'll get Sano to the plate with the go-ahead run at second.
Another one of those plays where the shortstop olays it instead of gets his body in front of it. If he knocks it down, he still might have a force at second base. Trevor hits it hard, and instead of getting in front of that ball, you're just sort of throwing your glove at it. That way, if you don't knock it down, it's a hit. You don't get charged for an error.
We saw Polanco pick a couple of balls off that were hit hard, throwing one away. And I guess that's a testament, too, to how well played this game has been. The only error that's been committed by both teams was made after a good fielding play by Polanco. Here's Sano, hitless. He hit a rocket to center field. Davis came in to make a diving catch in center field back in the 8th inning. Up high. Twins could use a bleacher reacher.
A lot of empty seats up there. It'd be kind of fun to watch the race begin.
A 2-out walk, and then a 2-out single. Nice save by Jimenez, and it's 2-0. Now Sano needs to stay locked in here. He is hitless here tonight, but he's put the ball in play 4 times. 2 outfield flies, a line out, and a ground ball to short. Get something over the plate to drive, and then drive it. Missed his pitch.
Yes, he did.
2-1.
A great swing, but trying to hit it too hard sometimes. Don't need to take that kind of swing.
2-1. So he got something to drive, but he didn't drive it. Half swing, it'll be a strike. No!
Oh my.
3-1. That's a huge check swing call by Chris Conroy. I thought he went.
Well, we've seen him get rung up so many times with this. It's kind of his pet peeve.
Oh yeah,
Man,
no,
he did not. He did not.
I think you see a big man that size with so much bat speed, and when he does stop it, it seems that he went further than he actually did. 3-1. And he got another one up and fouled it back to the screen. Full count, 2 down. Kepler on deck, and Mauer and Plouffe will leave early from their bases.
Important pitch, such an important pitch. Catcher Chris Jimenez out to talk to his pitcher Cody Allen about what he wants to do here. Does he want to throw the breaking ball down, hoping that he'll swing and chase? Does he want the fastball up just a little higher, hoping he'll chase?
Full count to Miguel Sano. Popped up near the Twins dugout.
Gotta play.
Out of play. Great battle here with, if not the game on the line, the lead. The first lead on the line in the 10th inning. Well
pitched game tonight. Both ball clubs doing a great job
Nothing ball here in the top of the 10th inning.
A little Jack Morris karma here. And Sano got another pitch up. There's plenty of fastball there. That's 94. That's not easy to catch up to, and he's sent 3 of them straight back.
It's really a cat and mouse game. You know, do you have the guts to throw an off-speed pitch? Can you command it? Do you want to throw a breaking ball down hoping that he'll chase? Do you want to run one up the ladder, a fastball way up, and hope he chases? Because he seems to be getting more and more dialed in on your fastball out over the plate.
Ball 4. Sano walks, and here comes Max Kepler.
And also Terry Francona. He can't afford to let his closer throw any more pitches.
Kepler will wait for a new pitcher. It'll be McAllister coming in. And the Twins threatened against Andrew Miller, and now a threat in the 10th against Cody Allen, but still no runs on the board. Max Kepler will never forget his first trip to Cleveland. He had 3 home runs in a game. He had 4 home runs in the series. He's got a chance to add to his memory bank here. The bases are loaded. 2 down in the 10th in a scoreless game, and he is 2 for 2 against the next Cleveland pitcher, Zach McAllister.
I find it interesting. Terry Francona apparently told his pitchers that he didn't want to have Max Kepler beat them. He's got no choice to pitch to him here. The game is on the line.
One of the things with McAllister, from time to time, his control gets away from him. He's walked 19 guys in 40 innings. And obviously there's no place to put him. We'll see what kind of a bat Kepler can put on the Indians here with the bases loaded and 2 down. All of this clutter on the bases has come after the second out of the inning. A walk, a single, and a walk. Up and away, ball 1. You look at McAllister's numbers, nothing out of the ordinary, although he does give up more hits than innings pitched. Home runs are decent, but control at times can be a problem. Two and 0. And could there be a tougher spot for a relief pitcher than to come in with the bases loaded in a tie game, in an extra inning game, and now you fall behind 2 and 0?
No, that's why Raleigh Fingers always said it's outhouse or castle. You got to go in there and you're either going to be the hero or the goat.
2 and 0 to Kepler. Popped up. over the Cleveland dugout and out of play. He too got a pitch to hit and missed it. He didn't miss any pitches in early August here.
Well, Max hitless with 2 strikeouts in this game, so he's due.
Two and one to Max Kepler. Fouled away again. Foul over the screen.
You can see every pitch in this at bat they're trying to pitch him away, and that's been kind of what's been going on throughout the league with Max. He's going to have to more than likely hit a ball away.
Another foul on another pitch away.
And most of those balls are balls, but Max, you got 2 strikes on you. You got to protect. You expand the zone a little bit, just protect mode.
The days, at least in the near term, of him getting thigh-high fastballs on the inside part of the plate or behind him, at least here in Cleveland. Another 2-2. A high fly to center field. Davis under it. And the Twins leave the bases full as the Indians in a key spot finally get Max out. Max Kepler got into a good count at 2-0, then fouled off 4 straight pitches before finally flying out. Twins leave the bases full, and now Brandon Kintzler will pitch to the Indians in the bottom of the 10th, starting with Abraham Almonte. Almonte Jimenez, and then Davis due up here in the 10th. And Kintzler's managed to get 4 outs on just 10 pitches thrown. Finished off the 8th inning, the final out scoring or recorded after Napoli's base hit. And then a very quick 1-2-3 bottom of the 9th. 1-0. Bunt up the line and a good one. Kintzler can't pick up the ball. He would have been able to tag him. And It's a bunt single for Abraham Almonte. Beautifully placed up the first baseline for a leadoff single.
Well, it's going to be a race. And Kinsler has probably peaked a little bit. He's got to get the ball in his glove first. And he didn't come up with a clean. And let's just hope that doesn't come back to hurt him.
Looked like had he picked up the ball, he
probably would have
been able to tag him. But now Jimenez would be asked to bunt, one would think here, after the bunt single by Almonte. Go back to the 7th inning when the Twins had the leadoff single. Rosario could not execute the sacrifice bunt. And now Sano does go back to the dirt part of the infield. Got to believe Jimenez is going to try to bunt, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's got to be. Guy's hitting about $110.
He kicks away from Centeno, but up the line, and Almonte can't advance. Jimenez with 3 sacrifice bunts, second on the team to Kipnis. But in the 8th inning, Kipnis was not asked to bunt.
Well, Jimenez doesn't play near the amount of games that Kipnis does either.
I'm just wondering why Sano's playing so deep at third base. 1-0. And again, Sano's arm can be a weapon in a situation like this. If he can field the ball in time, Almonte runs very well. But Sano's got a little extra zip on his throw that might enable him to get the force at second. Bunted foul, 1-1. Harry Francona working over the seeds. Very important game for the Indians, who've lost a couple of games in the standings to the Tigers over the last week. 1-1. And bunted foul, 0-2 or 1-2.
So does he put it on again? I got to believe he will.
Guy's hitting .217.
How many viewers do you think watch these games and look at the way major leaguers bunt and say, I know I can do that?
1-2. Base hit right field. Almonte will hold up at second. So you try to bunt twice and look like you've never bunted before in your life, and then you get a line drive base hit to right field.
Well, that's how you redeem yourself right there. Pitch down in the zone, over the plate, and Jimenez doesn't try to do too much. Just nice, easy swing, shoots it to the right side. Almonte makes the right decision after he saw his teammate Lindor get thrown out by Kepler. He just holds up at second base.
And now Rajai Davis, who can bunt for hits, will likely be asked to bunt for a sacrifice here. Davis singled his last time up. Kinsler pitching in his 3rd inning. Sano giving the signs again. Who's going to go where to cover as much of the infield as he can. Bunted foul and poorly.
I really believe Rajai Davis is a better bunter when he tries to drag bunt than if he does try to sacrifice bunt. And to me, it almost looked like he was caught in the middle. He was sort of dragging the bunt, sort of never got his hands out in front the way you're taught to do. Get your bat leveled, use your legs to go up and down.
Now a completely different infield for the Twins. Jabbed at And the Indians are now 0 for 4 in sacrifice bunting in this inning.
If you're still tuned to us and you're a young player and you're trying to see how to bunt here in the major league levels, you haven't really seen much, have you? Both sides, twice for the Cleveland Indians, once for the Twins, and nobody can get bunts down.
Davis strikes out about once every 4 times, and now Kinsler's ahead of him 0-2. Kinsler, of course, not much of a strikeout pitcher. Popped up into the seats.
A little infield fly ball, a strikeout. Twins desperately need an out right here.
Two strikes to Davis. And he wouldn't chase. Kinsler counting the 4 outs today. 43 innings pitched. 27 strikeouts. The other weapon that would be very helpful here, of course, Kinsler's not a strikeout pitcher because he's a ground ball pitcher. And if he can get one hit at somebody, remembering that Davis runs really well, tough guy to double up. But if he can get 2 here.
Well, even if you can just get 1 and leave the guy at second base.
Yep.
22 pitches now for Brandon Kinsler, and like Terry Francona with his closer Cody Allen, I'm sure Paul's a little concerned of how many pitches Brandon Kinsler is going to throw here tonight.
One and 2 to Davis. Foul. It's tough to hit when you see a sinker baller up there. It's got to be tough to hit when all you see is the top half of the ball. And when Kinsler's on, the pitchers are down around the knees and everything is beaten into the ground, even the foul balls.
Well, Kinsler usually has pinpoint command on both sides of the plate. Rarely does he throw a ball that splits the middle of the plate.
Another 1-2. Very high. And now pitch number 25.
Nobody throwing in the Twins' pen. So Paul's giving him this inning. It's his to win or lose.
2-2 to Rajai Davis.
Ouch.
And 9 pitches in this at bat. Davis has fouled off 5 2-strike pitches.
See, Kinsler just runs the ball in on Davis. He's kind of an emergency hack, and that gets the inside of his left leg.
Twins didn't have much luck yesterday after a batter fouled the ball off his knee.
That was Donaldson. Ends up getting a sacrifice fly to right in that at bat.
And then 3 home runs after that.
And 1 tonight.
Tapper to third. Sano tags, throws, save it first. They tag the runner, I believe, at third base. Almonte is motioning to the dugout that he was not tagged. So the original call, I believe, is out. But the Indians may challenge this. Third base umpire Ron Culpa said that there was a tag.
We're not going to see it, I don't think, on this angle. But there's, what, 12 cameras that supposedly are in New York to show different angles?
Well, I guess one thing we can't see are Almonte's feet. Clearly Davis beat it out. But did Almonte run onto the grass to avoid the tag?
I don't think he ran out of the grass.
But he was vehemently claiming he was not tagged once he got to third base. The original call is out, so the umpires reviewing in New York need to find an angle. We'll show you as many as we have to see whether Almonte was tagged by Sano or not. Well, he ran on the grass there. Look where he is, and look where he ended up. Now, if that's not running out of the baseline, what is?
Well, I know they get a few feet.
His path from where he was to the base was 6 feet on the dirt, and he ended up running 2 feet on the grass. But that's not the call. And that's not a reviewable call, I don't believe. Because it's made in front of the umpires. But you can't tell me he didn't run out of the baseline. He took 2 steps onto the infield grass.
Well, Terry Francona has nothing to lose by having him review this one. And they're going to make a call here.
Out. And whether he tagged him or not, whether they looked at his path to third base, I don't know, but he is out. 1 away. Take a look at from our low third camera and see whether all that really matters here, I guess, is whether he tagged him. And we really
can't see.
Really can't tell. So 1 out, first and second. And Kipnis will bat.
Well, Rajay Davis will be on first base with a fielder's choice.
Jimenez, who's not nearly the runner that Almonte is the runner now at second base. And the Indians are a little handcuffed here because they already made a catching move. Jimenez has to stay in the game. They've got some speed on the bench, Martinez and Naquin. But Jimenez entered the game after Perez was pinch hit for. Kipnis. Single and 3 trips plus a walk.
Twins have 1 out. They're going to have to face 2 of the toughest guys in the lineup, Kipnis and
now this is the second time that Kipnis has asked Kinsler to move the rosin back.
That's not unusual. That happens all the time.
Second time?
Well, he should have moved it the first time. If it's visible from the batter's box, the hitter has the right to have him move it.
And now Kinsler will make Kipnis wait and talk to Santana.
I remember saying to a few of my former teammates who made me move the rosin bag. Of course, it's always your buddy, your former teammate who's messing with you. I would tell them, hey, you're looking at the wrong white thing. Taylor Rogers going to throw now out in the Twins pen.
Kipnis takes ball 1. Base hit, left field, and the Indians will win. Kipnis delivers the 3rd hit of the inning, and finally in 10, the Indians beat the Twins 1-0.
be just that type of hit, especially with base runners on. The Twins had their chance in the top of the 9th, or 10th. They didn't get it done, and now the Indians get it done here in the bottom of the 10th.
The Indians in pennant race mode get a big hit late on a pitch down and away from Kipnis. And a 1-0 10-inning victory. To channel Jack Buck there, but the Indians get a win, a much needed win for them after a disappointing road trip. And despite all their futility in trying to get a bunt down, they string 3 singles together to win the opener and extend Anthony LaPanta, the Twins' losing streak now to 11 games.
Add another to the list of Twins finding a way to lose games during this streak. This time they take a shutout into extra innings and fall short. We'll break down the pitchers' duel, hear from Paul Molitor, and preview the rest of the series next on Twins Live.